I told you everything in a nutshell. I can provide some more detail, but I'd be happy to take any questions, so.
There's a very sacred Indian burial ground near the Rhode Island Country Club in that area.
Right, in Barrington,
Right.
right.
What tribe is that?
It was the only tribe that was here was the Poconokeets, yeah.
The only
Tell me
tribe.
more about that.
Where is it?
Well, they don't want anybody to know
Oh, is
about
this the
it.
one in Solms Woods?
I don't know.
There was
It's
a-
right near-
It's Somes Woods is here.
I don't know where
There's
Somes
Miss-
Woods is.
Echo Lake, you know
Right,
that?
that area.
Yeah, okay,
Near the
yes.
country club,
Yeah, they discovered stone hearths there. Helen Trader knows all about that and told me about that.
Yeah.
They
I
did
know
an archaeological dig there.
There was,
Yeah,
many
they were
years
doing
ago,
some
there was
digs
an
there.
article about it.
Right.
They were very careful not to tell you
They
exactly
do not
what it
want
was,
anybody to know about it.
Right,
Right,
Well,
but
they were doing digs and they didn't want any disturbance of what.
right, they don't want people to go digging it up.
Right, exactly, right. I mean, it's tough enough at Burrs Hill. That's why they came up with a vault idea, because people have been stealing stuff from there for years, you know, digging up and one thing or another, but.
So you're saying where you see mounds and so on at Burrs Hill, that is burial mounds from?
No, those were not created by human beings.
Okay.
They are simply part of a series of sand hills
Oh.
that went all the way across that area. That whole area was nothing but, you imagine dunes.
Uh-huh.
I have a picture, if you go on the Burrs Hill site on the website, I created what it probably looked like. We know that, you know where the parking lot is for the beach there. I have a picture from 1900 or so, taken from the top of the hill that was where the parking lot is now, 30 feet up in the air, okay? And I talked to some of the neighbors whose fathers used to play there, and there were trees all over there and one thing or another. It's nothing like it is today. But if you just imagine kind of rolling hills, and one of those hills was the site of a sentry during the Revolutionary War. That was perched up there because you could look down the bay and watch the British coming, who not only burned Bristol but burned Warren too, you know. And so.
So when, was it Mr. Cole who did the,
Carr,
Mr. Carr who
Yeah.
did the digging in the graves and
1913.
collected the materials?
right?
How did he know where to dig? I mean, were there
Well,
markers? They didn't.
That's
have
an
markers.
interesting question. I went to his notebook is at Cornell in Ithaca, so I went over there and got a look at it and took some pictures of it and stuff and tried to figure it out. He has this little tiny notebook and then little pencil, very small. It's very hard to figure out. And then of course he marks where the graves were by 23 degrees from the oak tree. Is the oak tree still there? I don't know. You can't really tell where, I suspect he just kind of started digging. These graves were only a foot or two under the ground. So you do what most archaeologists do. You go and you set out a grid and you dig in different spots until you find something, and then you dig some more, that kind of thing. But I don't know, he obviously didn't have ground penetrating radar, but he was able to find 42 graves. And if you ever want to see what came out of those graves, Susan Gibson in 1980, the year I moved into Warren, published a book where she went to all the museums and found all the items and then did the provenance on each of those items, and that's where she found there was china from Holland there, and bottles from England and one thing or another, because when you're a native person and you die, like many cultures, the idea is you take things you want to take into the next life with you, right? So you'd be buried with your most prized possessions kind of thing. And that's how those things ended up there. And of course, to those folks, a china plate, which they've never produced, was something special. So you bury your loved one with that. They were buried there for two reasons. One, if you take a clamshell hoe or a hoe made with an animal bone and go out and dig a grave out here, what's going to happen?
Rocks.
Rocks and roots. Okay, you're lucky if you get 4 inches down, okay? So what they did was look for places where you could dig. Well, this kind of sand bluff that was there was a natural. It was easy to dig in. And it had the advantage that when you're standing on this 30-foot high bluff, looking over the river with the sun setting, because you wanted to bury your loved one facing the sun because that's where they're going to go in the afterlife. Okay, so that worked out very well. But you didn't want to have them facing your enemies, the Narragansetts. So there's a sand bluff over in Barrington, just on the other side of Echo Lake. There's some of the beach areas there.
Right.
There's similar sand bluffs there. Okay, but if you buried someone there, they'd be overlooking the Narragansetts. So that's why they didn't bury them there. This is all somewhat speculative. We don't have anybody to ask, but you know, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, altogether. Well, I probably talked your arm off.